Good morning. Welcome back to today's video. Today we're going to be working on the motor goat, but this will apply to almost any goat power bike, but we're going to be doing some safety procedures, safety checks, and some general preventative maintenance that you could be doing to keep your bike safe and ready to ride. With e-bikes in general, there is tons of preventative maintenance that you could be doing to keep your bike from being in the shop or from being broken altogether. So today we're going to be covering a couple of those things so you don't have any of these issues. First, we're going to check out the chain as part of our mechanical check over. And I'm using a chain checker tool. We put the chain checker tool in here. And as you can see on the gauge of my chain checker tool, it says okay, because it is above the threshold. You know, these e-bikes, typically the chains don't need to be replaced unless you're putting thousands of miles on them using pedaling, because with the electric assist motor, it's really taking a lot of pressure and strain off of the cassette, so you're not wearing down the teeth as much as a regular bike actually. Let's get into just making sure all of our wiring is put together properly. You know, we have our main wire harness up here that connects our brake sensors, our display, our turn signal, our horn, all that. As long as everything is seated properly, that should be good. You don't want water getting in there because you can mess up the wiring harness. As you can see right here, we have a brake sensor. The red is not plugged in. So we're just gonna go ahead and line up the arrows, plug that right in. And then let's maybe turn on the bike. All the settings work, turn signals, everything seems to be going. The horn, that works. And then to test the brake sensors, obviously be very careful when doing this, but get on the bike and hold one of the brakes and hit the throttle. See, if you're holding the brake and you pull the throttle will not engage due to the brake sensor. If you come to the back, make sure that the brake light is working, and again, the turn signals are working on the rear as well. Perfect. So it looks like our electronics are working good. You know, there's not a whole lot of battery maintenance that you could be doing other than, you know, maybe unplugging it before it gets to full charge, not letting it charge when it's full. But these batteries are typically very reliable. There's not much you need to do with them. And as for the controller, there's no need to go down there and mess with any of the plugs. The less you do down there, the better. Once you start messing with that, you could end up messing up your controller. Now let's take a look at all the nuts and bolts on the bike. Make sure that they are snug, nothing's loose. You know, usually you can get this done with just a 5mm. So I have a 5mm on this hex right here. Yep. So with the 5, we can make sure that everything is nice and snug and tight, every bolt. As you can see, this one was loose right here. So we're gonna wanna check that out. You know, it is common for the headsets to come loose if you're jumping off curbs, doing wheelies. What I recommend doing is, let's remove this little cap off the top, and we're going to loosen these bolts. This is going to be a 6mm. Loosen that up on both sides. You're also going to wanna loosen the top crown of this fork with our 5mm. And once we have that, we can tighten this top cap, which is going to tighten the headset all back together. Once that is nice and snug, there should be no play in the front of the bike at all. This whole system in here should be nice and tight. If not, after tightening it, you're probably in need of a new headset, which is not too severe. It's just regular maintenance. Rear shock bolts, make sure that those are nice and tight. Usually these don't get loose, but they can. So you just want to make sure that they're nice and snug and tight. That all feels good. Make sure there's no like heavy rattling, and that's all good. These factory bearing points are generally really reliable and don't need to be serviced almost ever, unless you're doing heavy off-roading and it's getting super active. But other than that, they usually don't ever need to be replaced. Another common problem is tires going flat. If you are getting a lot of flat tires, the problem is most likely you. If you are riding through areas that have a lot of goat heads or nails or a lot of debris on the road, I would recommend going away from there. Or something super simple is just making sure the tires are properly inflated. Having the tire inflated to about 25 to 30 PSI will be just fine. Let's double check on the sidewall here. These say 5 to 15 PSI, but I would recommend running at least 20 to 25, even 30. And that is going to get you right. You're not going to deal with as many flats if you are thorough with checking your tire pressure. Definitely make sure you are checking your brakes. If they are squeaking, if they sound like they're grinding, make sure you check that out immediately, because if you continue to ride it with bad brakes like that, you're doing more damage and it's going to cost you more money. So you can always come in here, maybe from the back, check your brake pad level. These look great. Feel the lever. If the levers feel good, your brake pads are probably fine. But if you're hearing any grinding, please take it to a shop or get it fixed, because you don't want to mess up your rotor, your potential pistons inside the caliper. It can become a huge mess, so just make sure you are thorough with checking your brake pads. You want to take care of the brake pads yourself. Check out our other video where we did a full brake pad and bleed replacement on one of our GOAT power bikes. I believe it was the Motor Goat, and that will give you a full tutorial on how to replace your brake pads and do a full brake bleed if needed. And last but not least, we definitely want to check our front wheel. Make sure it is not loose, because sometimes if you're going over a lot of bumps, this wheel can get loose, just like on any e-bike. So we're just going to make sure that this is nice and tight using our 5/8 socket. Perfect. Once we see that that's tight, fender's tight, brake lines are fastened, we are all set. All right guys, thanks for watching our video of general preventative maintenance on your GOAT power bike. If you have any questions or concerns, leave a comment down below, or feel free to DM me on Instagram at Mobile Bike Repair. My name is Alex, and thank you for watching.